That's very odd. So confused. Oh well. Alright, hello and welcome. I am starting into the first live stream. It's exciting, I know. Well, let's start into it. This is a piece.
It's exciting.
That's why.
I know.
Okay, hold on one sec.
Well, let's start into it.
This is a piece.
It's exciting.
That's why.
I know.
Okay, hold on one sec. Okay, so apparently when I have Twitch up, I am listening to myself, and then there's a 10-second delay, so I'm just hearing a reverb of myself. That's fun. So I just muted Twitch, and it should work from here on out, hopefully. If there's any technical difficulties or anything, just, like, tell me in the chat. I have it right here, so I'll definitely see it, and we'll fix it together. Sounds fun, right? Alright, so I'm hopping into this piece. Clearly I have a million different layers here, so you're gonna have to bear with me. A lot of it is just vestigial things that haven't quite gotten deleted yet. This is how I work, you know? You're seeing the magic happen. And right now what I've been doing is putting in a lot of this line work, which is the heaviest work portion of this. It's pretty loose except for the line work, which is more detailed. Let's see here. Gonna have to maybe use this guy. Haha. I just got this brand new Wacom Cintiq, and this is the fancy control that comes with it. It has all the hotkeys on it, and it's pretty nifty. It's not in focus, but it's nifty. So it's got all these hotkeys that I programmed, and so I'm kind of getting used to using it. We'll see how fluid it becomes. James, if you're in the chat, you have to say hi. That's the rule. And right now I'm just going to go in and use my hotkeys on here. Let's see if I remember which ones are which. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so this is brush, eraser, and then undo is right here, right? Where was undo? There we go, found it. Alright, now I've got a few of the brushes that I've saved out as my favorites at the top. Hey James. Good audio, and so far the fixes look like they've worked. I'll let you know if there are any apparent lag or sketching on the sketching. Excellent, thank you very much. I think we're alone here for now, so hi, how you doing? So I'm gonna use the brush, get in here. Looks like for some reason I might have to close Photoshop and restart it because it's not giving me, you know, on here you usually see the dynamic range of like thick to thin. So here I'll test that out and see if it's working at all. Ooh, super laggy. That's great. My computer's handling a lot of new stuff right now, so I don't doubt that it's having some issues. So let's... Great video. Told you it'd be janky. FF. I'm going to close Photoshop and reopen it. No. Yeah, the camera fell asleep. That's the dumb part of this camera. It has a setting where you're supposed to be able to turn off its ability to go to sleep. I turned it off and it's still doing that. So maybe there will be some kind of fix in the future that I find out about, but for now I'm just rolling with it. It should be about every 5 minutes or something. It's really bad. But this is the first live stream, so I'm not against doing things like that, at least for the time being. So we're opening this file in Photoshop. Let's see. Oh, yeah, see all of the brush what do you call them, previews are thick to thin now, so it fixed itself. So let us get in here. And this is, there we go, got it. All right, I'm getting the hotkeys down. So let us get into the line work and fix some of these issues that we have here. I'm basically just using white, but I'm gonna still alt select just to make sure I have whatever I was using on these here. Looks like a big portion. And you can see I'm using like a lot of small lines that kind of reverb off of the creatures, kind of giving it a faux glow effect. Faux glow. And it is something that I like a bit about this piece, so I'm gonna keep doing it all around here. And these are, like, you can kind of see the areas that I've fixed before because it doesn't have the glow effect. So whatever is like missing it, like right here, I'm just gonna add that little like hatching right along the edge there to make it feel like it's complete again. And it was basically like this big editing session where I went through and made sure all of these creatures actually flowed, because like a dummy always, I kept all the line work on one layer. Now, if you draw through and do each individual character, you can have overlap and not worry about losing anything, because you could just like mask out the areas that they overlap. But of course, I just drew straightforward and made it all overlap, and so I had to erase out parts, I had to redraw parts. It's just, you know, the creative process. You gotta do what's right for you. You enjoying this, James? I don't even know. He's sitting in the next room, so, you know, just talking to myself here. It's fine. So, let's go over what these creatures look like. Ghibli, right? What's your favorite Ghibli movie? I think mine, well, okay, I know mine is Spirited Away, but my close second is Howl's Moving Castle. And honestly, sometimes I want to watch Howl's Moving Castle a little bit more than Spirited Away. I know, guilty. But the thing about Howl's Moving Castle is just the charm of it. I feel like Spirited Away obviously has a lot of charm, but it's also kind of stressful to me, whereas Howl's Moving Castle doesn't have the huge ramifications like Spirited Away. I know that obviously Howl could turn into something horrible, but I don't feel it like an impending doom quite like in Spirited Away when she's like alone without her parents. Like, that is stressful. Spirited Away for sure. Yeah, that's right, I know. You love it. And third favorite would have to be Ponyo, I think, which is definitely where a lot of this inspiration comes from, because they have underwater creatures at one point that kind of go underneath the... Alright, see you, James. Have fun. The Ponyo, what was I saying about them? Oh, it was the creatures that go underwater. And there's this point at which Sasuke is on a boat and he's going over this area covered in water, and there are these amazing looking prehistoric fish creatures that are just going slowly under his little boat. And it felt so magical. For some reason, underwater stuff feels like 10 times more magical to me. I don't know if I'm alone in that, but I love them. And so for this particular image, I was thinking that... Well, you went to sleep again. Good job. For this particular image, I wanted a magical feel to it. See, this all came about because I was approached by people at Adobe saying, hey, we have this... basically a slot open for their social media where they wanted a picture that came with the idea of chill. So that was my prompt, chill. And then they had green/blue. And so I immediately had like this kind of image pop into my head, and I was like, oh, I should be working on other things, but I really want to do this. Because with everything Adobe and with the Residency, you can always say no to things. They always allow you to say no. And that's one of the beautiful things about the Residency, because they are not forcing you to do anything. You are a paid employee, but they recognize that creative people can't be forced into things, and it just doesn't mesh well with like what we're trying to make. So I could have said no, but sometimes it's really fun to do these little things on the side. And I've been working with my mentor, Lee White, to basically like build my portfolio and make a complete book dummy or multiple book dummies. And so what comes with that is ideas for how to like build out the portfolio. Like what could be a really useful thing to have in a portfolio. Pieces like this aren't necessarily the bread and butter of a portfolio, especially for illustration, but they are a really good foundation for just having something to build off of. So you never know if you're going to have the story idea first and then the image is going to come, or if you're going to have an image first and then the story comes along with it. It's kind of crazy that way, but Lee has helped me figure out that that's okay. Like, it's okay to have an image come first, and you don't have to have everything figured out. I'm sure if you guys draw, you know, like, it is sometimes painful to have to think of whole stories behind things, like, oh, what's the character's motivation, what's everything that's going on, and sometimes you don't have to think that deeply, and I'm really glad about that, because it's hard to think that concentratedly, that's not a word, about something where you're just trying to have fun and trying to keep that like creative passion going toward it. I see we have another watcher. Hey, if you're watching, you gotta comment in the chat, because this is the first stream and I have to talk to someone, okay? I'm not just talking to myself here, although I really am. So please make me feel a little less insane by talking to me. And in the meantime, I will just chat. And also, if you come in here, please tell me like where you came from, where you saw that I was on here, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever social media is, because I'm just curious like what works best. And I will try to keep the camera alive. That would be a good thing. Sorry about this. This is still janky. I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that the camera works all the time. And also trying to draw and talk at the same time. So there's a lot going on, guys. A lot. But I really want to get better at this, because I do find that live streams are one of my favorite ways to consume media from people. Like, it just makes it so approachable to talk to someone or share something creative. So I want to keep doing this, and I want to make it really good. So if you have any suggestions on how to make it better, of course, let me know. And I want to say, once again, that this piece is hopefully going to be a portfolio piece of, you know, this is one of the things I've been thinking about. You don't necessarily have to think of something as a portfolio piece before you create it. I really want to have that kind of open-mindedness to be like, hey, I'm just going to create work, and whatever comes out of it, like, cool. I don't want to have the pressure of this has to be a portfolio piece. However, that contradictory statement comes with the caveat of the residency, because as much as I want it to be this, like, relaxing, I can make everything, and it's like, you know, good times all around. It is good times all around, for sure. However, I want to say that there's a pressure there to create what you set out to do. You know, you put these really high, lofty dreams in the air, and like, I can make this happen. And, if that doesn't happen, you would feel horrible. So what I'm trying to do is make as much happen as possible in the meantime. And that comes with, you know, just basically saying like, oh, hey, somebody's hosting me. What does that mean? Tristan Grant? Thank you, Tristan Grant. Don't even know what that means, but I am really new to Twitch. Anyways, what I was saying was basically just don't put the pressure on yourself to make something for your portfolio. Just make something for your sake, and not every piece is going to be brilliant. It's going to sometimes be a little janky, and you will have to fix old things. Actually, I just did a few projects this summer where I took old pieces of mine, like a year plus. Hey, Tristan. Hosting means anyone in my channel will be brought to yours. That's so sweet. Wow, Tristan. Well, okay. I'll have to figure that out for the future. I want to help host people. That's awesome. So, what I wanted to say, there is a lot about the residency that I could talk about. If you don't know, it's Adobe Creative Resident, which means that I get a year to make a project happen that will basically take my career from where it was to where I want it to be. And my goal for this year has been to make a children's book so that I can become a children's book illustrator professionally, and hopefully author. Oh, there goes my camera. Sorry first live stream, janky, just go with it. So this is not a piece for the book, but it is a piece that comes with the residency, because you get approached by people to make some cool stuff, and the people at Adobe wanted me to create a piece. Basically, yeah, Adobe is love, Adobe is life. I absolutely love them, and I could talk for hours. Hey, I could talk for hours about basically how amazing Adobe has been. I've gotten some questions from people saying, like, is it really that good? Do you have creative freedom? Do you have room to grow? And like, my answer to everything is just yes and more. It feels like exactly what you could want from a dream job. I mean, I am an Adobe employee. Like, they are paying me salary, they're giving me benefits. Like, this program is being an Adobe employee, which is amazing. It has the caveat that it's only for 1 year, and also you get to do what you need to do for you, which is kind of amazing. And that's an understatement. It's completely amazing. It's basically what every single artist would want to have. And so by the way, applications open in January. I want everybody to get this. It's so perfect for artists. So if you guys have any questions about what to do for applications, who would be prime targets for it, and basically like any tips at all, I will give you everything. There are no secrets that I'm hiding or anything like that. So completely open book. I will tell you. The only thing I think that I wouldn't say like publicly is the exact income that each person is making, because everyone is different. It's really based around where you live and like cost of living and what you would make in your career, you know, in general. And that is all very variant. But what I will say is it was good. Like, they are giving me more than I have ever earned at my job previous to this. And it's one of the many things that I have to say Adobe is the best for doing. They made all of us feel so appreciated, and it's not just because of the money. It's been ongoing the entire time, feeling like you are seen in this industry as a professional. You are wanted on their scope of everything, and that is amazing to hear as an artist. It's almost unheard of, because like, when do employers say that to you? When do they like take you aside and say, you are appreciated and we really want you in particular to work on this project? You're not just a dime a dozen. That's unheard of. It's something that I've never had before, and I hope to have again after the residency is over. Another thing I realized while I was doing this is that they don't just drop you. You are basically like a family member afterward, and I've met plenty of the previous residents, and they have all basically had this wonderful relationship where they're still in contact with people after their residency is over, which to me is like, that's one of the best takeaways you could possibly have. Yeah, Tristan, your career will keep moving forward. If you're saying that to me in general, yeah, I mean, I hope to have a very momentum-filled career from here on out. I have really good things happening, which is completely due to the residency. Like, I've met people, I've talked at places, I actually just gave a lecture at Max in October and things like that. Like, that's the kind of stuff that it doesn't just fall into your lap as an artist. You're not going to be plucked from the crowd that easily. So this is literally like plucking people from a crowd. It is giving them a place to be. Yeah, it's once you're part of Adobe, your family. It's the best. And thank you so much, Tristan, for being here and talking to me, because I feel like I'm just talking to myself in my apartment and I'm going crazy. But if you're here, if you're watching, please comment, please talk, because I want to answer questions, and I want to basically just talk to people, because that's what this is about, is connecting with you guys, because I will paint this no matter what, but if I do it with you guys, it feels more like a cooperative thing. You can give me suggestions, you could give me critique, just be like, this sucks, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm fine with that. And all artists should be. But yeah, this is basically what the stream that I want to create is just like hanging out and singing, obviously, down the street. One of the things that my mentor, I'm working with Lee White. I used to be a moderator. Sorry, I'm totally going just to the chat. I used to be a moderator for Adobe's Twitch and mod for Sid Weiler. You probably know her. I love Sid. She is the reason that I am an Adobe creative resident. Like, she made it happen. I watched her grow for years as an artist, and then when she got the residency, she told everybody about it, and I was like, wait, what? That exists? And that's 70 show, of course. But yeah, that changed my life completely, so I have Sid to thank for that. And I also met her at Icon, and she's fan-freaking-tastic. And of course she streams, so I was just like, hey, if she does that, maybe I can too. So she's just inspiring in every way. One thing about the piece I wanted to mention, I just took out this like blob of, I was thinking it was snow, but my mentor Lee White was like, it looks like an amorphous blob, and it doesn't really like read, is it something like a piece of snow falling into the picture? I don't know. So I'm just gonna nix it for now, and if we need an external shape from these two side shapes, then we'll add them back in, no worries. Alright, reading the chat. Sid emote. Oh my gosh, it's a sushi. I love it. I love the sushi brushes she made as well. I need to use those more often. Whoops, my camera. Hey Tristan, if you have an idea for how to make this camera not fall asleep, I have the setting on where it's like not supposed to fall asleep, but for some reason it does. It's so dumb. Anyways, Sid is amazing. If you haven't seen her stuff, like, look her up. She is such a great artist on different levels where she can do something super goofy and super nostalgic, like beautiful things that she does. The camera that I'm using is the Canon EOS M3, and this actually is a borrowed camera from my friend Anthony, but I've seen a setup that this YouTuber, I think her name is, oh gosh, Premiere Gal, that's what it is, because she's another Adobe people, you know, like one of us. And she was saying that she uses the M3 and that it works completely fine for her, and I'm just like, but I turned off the setting and for some reason it's still janky. But, you know, it's growing pains. And since I'm borrowing the camera, I can buy one that works better for this if I need to. I just want to see if it's necessary. So if there are any troubleshooting ways to like fix that, that would be amazing. Alright, now I'm going to, this is a clipping mask, so over here in the layers panel you'll see this is the layer that I have all my lines on, and then if you press Alt and hover between the layers, you can get this little prompt right here. You can unclip or clip something to other layer, and this is the best thing if you don't know about it. Basically, it's like pixel locking. So pixel locking would be if I were using this line layer and I went up here to the symbol, then I would paint within it, and if I used a different color, I can make every line that color without painting outside of those lines, which is invaluable. However, something even cooler is if you do it on the clipping mask and then you paint in with that different color, it's the exact same effect, but you can turn it on and off, and you always have that underlayer. It just takes a little less step of editing things. So I like, of course, not erasing anything. I use masks to not erase anything, and so that's just kind of one of those methods of doing that same thing. Alright, let's make a new layer, clip mask. And what I wanted to do is get a kind of, oh wait, hold on, Tristan. I used to use a Canon DSLR. There was a setting in the EOS software that stopped it from turning off. Maybe different now, huh? The EOS software, so that means on the camera, right? Because I was wondering if there's anything I could do from the computer. I highly doubt that. But I think I will, before next stream, just go through the camera settings and really double check if there's anything I can do to fix it. Because, of course, it's annoying. I don't want to have to be like, me. But for this first live stream... Oh, EOS is from the computer. Okay, gotcha. So I will definitely look that up, and I'll have it fixed. For you, Tristan, for you. Alright, now I'm going to go into this clipping mask. What I wanted to do was create the effect of these fish, magical creatures, whatever they are, being on several different layers. So some are closer to the surface, some are deeper down. And of course, if you're deeper down in this water, you would be a little darker, a little less, what do you call it? It's contrasting with the water and the glow of them. So I want to make them a little bit closer, not completely the value of the water, but a little bit lighter. Also, at the top of every one of my pieces, I usually keep one of these layers. This layer is set to color mode up in the adjustments panel, and it is completely black. So what that does is it turns it black and white. Now this is the truest form of black and white that I've found in Photoshop that doesn't mess with the values when you turn it that way. So this is the black and white, and I want to make sure that none of them get lost in the value of the water. But also that the highest point of contrast is going to be right here around the fox. So let's try that out. Also, you guys have to name my fox if you want to. I've just been calling him Fox, and I think that's boring. So we need to come up with something creative because we're a creative bunch, right? Alright, so I'm going to start by just playing with how much line I can darken. Whoa, my color picker showed up on my secondary monitor. Interesting. And right now I'm working on a Cintiq 24-inch. If you guys want a better view of this beautiful thing, I can tilt the camera down. Just let me know. Alright, here we go. So this is just to give me an idea of what this might look like. And also, everything is editing, so, I mean, I can change this at any time. Again, it's on its own layer, so we're not locked into anything. Now it's looking extremely close to the value underneath it, so let's go to the value underneath layer, this guy. It is set to normal. Okay, cool. So I was expecting it to be a color Tristan Cintiq 24. Coolest thing ever. Wacom gave it to me. What? It's insane. So yeah, part of the residency is getting these brand deals, and I really can't believe how much I've gotten from them. This isn't even sponsored or anything. They didn't pay me to make anything about it. I guess I did make a commercial kind of for them. It's like a Wacom Intuos video. It was all about using the Intuos tablet. And so they agreed, we'll give you something for that. Little did I know, we got a Cintiq, which is gorgeous, I have to say. Like, they have, I think it's 4K display right now, and the lag is nothing, and it's amazing. No parallax, they're very proud of that. And they should be. They make good products. And of course, using Photoshop on it is like the only way to live, right? Let's see here. So I'm gonna lock the pixels of this layer. I don't know sometimes why I do stuff like lock the pixel of this one and then use a clipping mask on this one. I just want to, so deal with it. Tristan says, I use a Cintiq 16. Okay, so I looked at all the sizes that they had, and I do think there's a sweet spot. 16, definitely usable and good. I actually am borrowing, which this has happened since the beginning of the residency, I'm borrowing a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro, and that is 16 inches, and I love just like curling up on the couch with that thing and going to town. It is the only portable tablet that runs full Photoshop and is basically an entire computer in its own right, and completely portable. A little bit heavy, obviously it's not like an iPad or anything, but it is super usable and lovely, and I love it. I was thinking of getting that rather than the Cintiq at first, but it turns out that they're actually pretty hard to come by. Like, they don't produce a ton of them, and they don't make them much money, which is unfortunate, because I think the future of art in general is going to become more mobile. And so things like iPad, they are really cornering the market on mobility for artists. So I want Wacom to be in that fight. But we'll see where they go with it. Alright, right now I'm gonna use this clipping mask right here that's on the line layer, and I'm just gonna lighten it to see how it looks and what I like and what I don't like about it. So I'm liking this value a little bit more. If I use full white, then it feels like too contrasty in my opinion. I want the the layer behind it to be semi-light and then the lines to be really light. So instead of just turning down the opacity on this, I turned it down, selected the color. Now I'm going to lock the pixels on it and fill that area with the same color that it was with the low opacity. But now I don't have any of the wonkiness of having one low opacity layer, like having to select, you know, the color and trying to fill it in. It's just dumb. So I like to keep everything full opacity when I can. Now, we've got some working values and colors going on here. Let's start filling stuff in. Is that the new color? Yeah, it's so similar. So Tristan, how do you like the Cintiq 16? Is that the newest one that has like the really nice display on it? The 16 fits better on my desk. I used to have a 24 and loved the drawing space. See, that's the thing. They also make a 32 inch, which... Oh, sorry, my camera went off. I went dramatically to the camera. A 32 inch. Which is so huge. Like, the 24 is already taking up, like, okay, check out my desk. It's insane how huge this is. And then we've got this gigantic 32 inch. Oh, it's so meta. Look at that. It's you. 32 inch display up here. So if I had the display down here as well, I mean, this is basically 32 inches in how big it is, but then they have this bezel. Which is nice, actually. I do enjoy the bezel because you can like rest your hand there and not block any of your space or anything like that. But I've seen the 32 inches in action and it's almost too intimidating to me, where I'm like, okay, that's so big that I don't know if I could like work on it every day. I mean, I'm sure you get used to everything, but just in my opinion, it's a little big. 24 is amazing. I absolutely love this size. Because it feels like enough to draw on. I'm never feeling cramped. The 16, I feel cramped in certain ways, but I think it's more just not having a secondary monitor. If you're just drawing and you don't need to like look up reference or Google anything or whatever, you're golden. Like, it's a perfect space to draw on. It's just if you need multiple windows, which this setup plus the Mobile Studio Pro, it meets all my needs right now. I love it. Because Mobile Studio Pro, you curl up on the couch. And then with this, I have my full home base, complete freedom. Nothing feels like I'm, you know, fighting the medium. Which I realize now that I have it, how much I was fighting it before. Working off laptops and, you know, all the stuff you have to do when you're a beginning artist and all that stuff. I love it. Perfect for me. I'm so glad, Tristan. True, I also have a second monitor. Yes, if you have the 16-inch Cintiq, I'm sure it's completely comfortable. Like, if you have that second monitor, you can have all the reference open. What I'm absolutely loving is HP gave me this 32-inch Dream Color display, which is amazing for just having multiple windows open on it. Like I showed you, this has... Let's see, Adobe Creative Cloud, Twitch, the song I'm playing, the chat right here. Hey, Tristan, you can see yourself. And then OBS, which I'm streaming through. So all those things on one screen is kind of crazy. I love it, because then it doesn't feel like anything's cramped, and I didn't even realize that that was a problem for me before I had it. Alright, let's try out more of these colors. I actually really liked how this guy's eyes glowed before, so I'm going to add a little bit of white just right there again. Like, his eyes are actually luminescent. It'd be cool. You're on TV! Woo! Celebrate! Alright, let's get into the color behind the creature lines once again. Ooh, that's kind of cool too. Whoa. Alright, this guy is inconsistently colored, so let's just add a little bit of, of the colors back in to make it a little bit crisper. I do like having his fins at different levels, because if you imagine some kind of swimming creature, they're definitely not just like a flat tail going through the water. They're all sorts of dynamic, you know, swishiness. So I want them to dip and dive and dodge and dip and dive and dodge. Another quote. Tristan, name that movie. see. I use Dell Ultra Sharp 34 curved monitor. Fancy. That's awesome. 34 inches. I thought 32 was excessive when I got this, and now I'm just like, this is the only way to live. Darling. But yeah, that's, I mean, as big as you can get. I don't think a monitor has like any problem being huge. You just use it as a TV. Just watch YouTube really big. By the way, I'm a YouTube kind of addict, so if you guys know YouTube stuff, you tell me, and I will watch it, and I will talk to you about it. Boom. Alright, I'm just changing up some of the colors that they have. I'm going to use on a... this turns on the opacity control for the brush. I'm just going to like low opacity brush over some of these fins to give them a little bit more depth going down. This is with the color from the actual water underneath them. So it's like atmosphere almost, where it just kind of covers part of them a little bit. And it makes it feel like there's a little more depth. Although, I think the thing that has the most effect on these guys is definitely the line. Like, even if I put a dark color there, the line still brings it up. So, we're just hopping around here, back and forth, back and forth. Let's do the same kind of thing. And just gently drag a color over the line. Huh, why is that not more effective? There we go. Alright, I want to use a bluer rather than a greener. You see how some of the colors of the water are a little bit more green than blue, blue than green. How long does the Mobile Studio's battery last when drawing? See, that's a really good question. If you're drawing non-stop, it's probably like 4 to 5 hours, which is pretty short. But what what I do is basically like draw for a time, put it down, draw for a time, put it down. So mine lasts like 6 to 8. But if you are smart with when you're charging it and everything, then you won't have a problem. But it's definitely not like an iPad that lasts like a long time and is super portable. The thing about charging the Mobile Studio Pro though is that it gets really hot when you're charging it, and that's a problem when you're like curled up on the couch once again, because I've drawn with it on my lap and my legs are like ow before, which is not a good thing. So I feel like that's something that I would definitely want changed of, you know, if I were to tell Wacom my thoughts and feelings, it would be that basically. But overall, 4 hours or something to work on a piece out in the world is a good amount of time. Like, you can actually use Photoshop and everything. Yeah, I don't think that 5 hours is bad considering it's a full tablet PC. Exactly. With the power you're getting, it's kind of amazing that it works at all. Because you're sitting there with an entire computer fully capable of everything on your lap. Like, what? I understand that, like, laptop... I feel like it's even more powerful than laptops in a lot of ways, because I had my MacBook, you know, it would lag using Photoshop, and I understand that Photoshop is a really heavy program, but it's still, like, that's what I need you to do. Please do it. But every computer has its limits, I'm sure. And my MacBook is, like, almost 10 years old at this point. You know, that's one of the things that the Residency gives you as well. They lend you a laptop. And I have to say, mine is awesome. It's kind of luxurious how powerful it is, because I can, you know, play 1080p videos no problem. And it's, like, not laggy at all or anything like that. And I'm kind of afraid for when the Residency is over and I have to give it back, and I'll go back to my old MacBook and be like, it's so slow. But hey, as long as I'm working on this beautiful new PC, all I need it for is, like, if I want to, I don't know, play YouTube videos off of it, which I could do on this computer as well, but it just depends on what I'm doing and what I need it for. Alright, let's zoom out here and really take a scope of what this is, like, what's going on here. So, I like a lot of the elements that are going on. let's try some like big adjustments. Let's just throw a multiply layer over here, kind of give it a vignette and see what happens. Oh, also I wanted to try adding a little bit of depth to the snow on these areas. I don't have anything against the graphic white, but I just wanted to experiment and see like what it would look like if there was a little bit of like definition on the snow. So first we're going to try a multiply layer and just see what that looks like. Did you notice I stopped using my hotkey tool and I'm back to the keyboard over here? It's just my safe space. I have to spend more time figuring out how to use everything. Tristan says, how long did it take you to plan your residency application? Did anything change from your plan to how it is now? Ooh, those are big questions. I could talk forever. Okay. Let's start with the first one. How long did it take you to plan your residency application? I applied the year before, and so I had something that I liked a lot from the year before, which was going to be a book about Astoria. So that's one thing that stayed consistent, book. But it was going to be illustrations that were based around the stories that my parents told. And now I know that that's really, really specific and doesn't really hit a broad audience and give them some kind of like, you know, why would they be interested in Astoria, Oregon? I don't know. But it would have been a really cool book, and maybe I'll do it in the future still. It's just, it wasn't right for the residency. So this time around, I was like, okay, I'm real tired. I don't know if I want to do, anything for it. And my husband James was like, no, you gotta do it. Think of like just a little bit of time could be so much payoff. And boy howdy, was he right. But the thing was, okay, so a few months prior, an agent had actually found me on Twitter, which is kind of a crazy thing to happen. I definitely cried the day that she emailed me and was like, hey, are you interested in working on children's books? Yes, very much so. So I started making a book for her. I also worked on chapter headers. I also did some spot illustrations, but the big thing was a book idea. And so I started, of course, writing down ideas for the book. And then I also, what did I do? I made a book dummy, basically, like a bunch of illustrations for it. And that was what I used for my residency in a lot of ways. It no longer exists because, as your second question asks, a lot has changed from the plan to what I'm actually doing. One of the big factors in that is SCBWI, which was a conference that is all for children's book writers and illustrators, which I am both. So I wanted to go to this, and it changed my entire way of thinking, which was very much needed. It was wonderful. So what happened was I went to all of these creative talks, peer reviews, a bunch of just filling my head with everything children's book illustration. And everyone was saying, write something personal, write something that's about you, and like make it what you want it to be. Like, don't cater to anyone else. Oh, that's kind of cool. Sorry, I'm finding new techniques. This is all experimental, so I'm just like trying out new things to see if they look cool. Anyways, so after that, I rewrote my book about 15 times, about 5 times before I actually left the conference, because I was just having all these ideas. So I would go to my hotel room every night and start like, I'm dying. Oh, camera didn't even catch it. I choked, you guys. You didn't see it. So I started writing out all these ideas of like, okay, this is one way it could go. Oh, this is really cool. Oh man, what if this happened, you know? And so when I came back from SABWI summer conference, I told Julia, who's my manager, and Lee, who is my mentor, basically, this book has changed. Not in like this huge monumental, it's a different story altogether, but it definitely wasn't the same. So all of the book dummy work that I had worked on before, out the window, basically. But it was all building blocks. It's more like, you know, you just step on what you had created, and it brings you to this new level of creation. So I am very grateful for it. The outline that I proposed in my proposal, which is actually on Behance if you want to see it, it's so different from what's happened. I had a whole timeline for producing the book, and actually one of the main changes for that just came in one of my meetings with Lee. He said that it might be more beneficial to my career if I create multiple book dummies instead of one complete book. That blew my mind, because I was like, I always envisioned having this complete book at the end where it was beautiful, full illustrations, maybe even a gallery show, that kind of thing. And ooh, man, it changed a lot. So now I'm working on still the same book dummy, because I am not nearly finished with that, which, hey, if you want to see some pictures from that, just say so in the chat and I can show you where it's at. A preview that no one else has seen. But the idea that after this, I'm going to work on other book ideas that I've had, which I have a million, but like what we're planning on doing is basically having a pitch meeting. Lee, Julia, and I go back through all of my ideas, pick out the strongest ones from before, and basically just pitch them to them. And whatever we all decide is the strongest pitch becomes the next book dummy. And I will have significantly less time to work on that one, but that's how this kind of thing goes. You know, you learn to do it once, it takes you a million years, and the second time you do it, it's at least half as long, you know? It's just really funny how that always happens. I remember taking a 3D modeling class in college, and it was basically like you spend the entire term building this building or house or whatever, and it takes you all this time, and oh man, it's so hard. And then the next term you're basically building a city, and you have to do it in like a month. So you just have to like be on your feet and constantly learn how to be faster. And you know, it's the hardest to do at the beginning, but you also level up so much quicker that way. So, let's see. Okay, so followed you on Instagram and Behance. Thank you, Tristan. Oh my gosh, you're so nice. Yeah, and please tell me what you want to see and what you think of stuff. If I post something and you're like, sucky, then just like let me know. I always want to hear feedback, and you seem like a good feedback guy. So, thanks for talking with me. I kind of like this effect that I'm getting. Sorry if I've been too zoomed out. I really like zooming out when I'm painting, because it gives me a better, like, a whole vision of the piece, because you do not want to be zoomed in for too long. What I'm doing basically is like rough pass with a big brush that's got an opacity control on it, so it's very translucent. And then going through with the eraser and just kind of going zigzaggy lines, and it kind of creates this frost effect that I like. Anytime, Tristan. Anytime. I'm gonna have to check your channel out and everything. And obviously follow. Alright. Now, let's see. If I don't already, I don't recognize your name at the moment, but I am horrible with names, and so I probably... You know, if I know somebody, I could like be looking or talking to them online for 6 months and not know it's them, because I don't connect names with people like ever. It's a really bad problem when you're trying to network. But if I see your work, like, or whatever you do, then I instantly know who you are. And I actually spent an entire night talking to Sophie Dow, and I was like, oh, Sophie, you're so nice, blah, blah, blah. Oh, cool, about this and that. And then I found out, oh, I've been following you for like 3 years. I know all your work. And that was kind of a goofy thing to realize. And I had to run up to her at the end after I'd followed her on Instagram. I was like, you're that Sophie. What the heck? I don't think we've talked online. I follow you on Twitter because Adobe Residency. Oh, yeah. So Twitter, you came from Twitter. That's good to know. And yeah, totally. The Residency is like the best reason to follow me, because I followed the Residents. That's how I knew Sid. But dang, like, it is the best way to just be like, hey, everybody, I'm working on something. It's not just me. It's like this whole company behind me, and I have time to just make it for you. Like, it's literally a gift to everyone who watches. Just, hey, I made this for you. Do you like it? So I've been having a ball with that and meeting so many cool people because of it. Just like Tristan. Oh, yeah. I kind of like that look too. Ooh, just like a brush stroke that kind of fades out at the edges. All experimental, people. We can do what we want. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. I try to keep up with the Residency, mainly the illustrators. Then, Chelsea Burton from last year. She and I are good friends now as well. She's actually doing a pop-up in, Denver, Colorado. She just moved to, which is crazy. And of course I met Christine from a few years back. These are just, and Craig Winslow from Sid's year as well. And Christina was Sid's year, I believe. It's so funny how the residents from past years are literally family members. Like, you just, you like join this group of people who are like, we all know what you've been through. We know exactly what it's like. Here, let's, like swap stories. And they're all the nicest people. It's one of the things I think gives me hope that the Residency is really doing its job really, really well, is because everybody they pick seems to be not just a great artist, but like a genuinely great human being. And that's why I love following them. And like, I don't follow lightly. But for the Residency's sake, like, of course, I automatically followed all of them. And then I learned so much about their lives. Like Instagram stories, apparently everybody posts like all their good life stuff to it. And I love seeing who they are as people. It's been really fun to get to know them. And for an interview at Max, I literally said, like, I really wish that we could all just live together. And the interviewer was like, really? And I was like, well, I mean, not in the same house, but like in the same area, It's just one of those things where they're your friends and you want to see them more often. But now it gives me an excuse to travel the world, go see them. Isabel in Leeds and Nadine and Laura in Germany, like, how awesome would it be to just go to Germany and be like, I gotta go see my friends, bye. Yeah. And have you seen like Adobe Live and stuff like that? They just had, Lissy Marlin on there. She's a fantastic illustrator. And I absolutely have loved her work, but I missed the streams, which was really sad because I always love tuning in and like talking to people just like this because they're really good at chatting. So I could have talked to Lissy, but I didn't. Start a Residency con. No, we've literally talked about that. We're all just like, okay, we need to get together. So when are we going to do this? And then after like one of the cons that the European crew went to, we were like, oh, Barcelona sounds really nice because that's where the conference was. And I was like, all right, so we're meeting in Barcelona, April, after this is over. We're all gonna just like kick back and vacation for like at least 2 weeks, right? And everybody was like, yeah, that'd be so cool, man. And now I'm just like, okay, as we get closer, we need to make this happen. Because when do you get to do that? I got home from Max. You've only watched a few of the Adobe Live. They're really good. If you find that they're doing like an artist that you love or something, it's like gold. It's really nice because you could just chat with them and it's super casual. It's really fun. The hosts on there are usually very hilarious. So I loved going on Adobe Live too. That was really, really fun. And I'm actually going back to San Francisco in December. So I will probably not go on Adobe Live, which is really sad. But there's the camera. I want to go back on if I can, but I think Tammy is going to be the one that goes on this coming like 2 weeks from now or whatever it is. Yeah. Rocky Rourke's, that's a name. Adobe Livestream and Shauna Lynn's. Oh yeah, I love those both. I mean, I know Rocky Rourke's work because I think he was the one who made the sticker packs that I got at Max. It was really cute. Every single program that they had like a person associated with them. That was really cool. But yeah, Adobe Live's the best. And the crew there, like, they're all just genuinely hardworking folks, and they do a really good job. So, once again, can't say good enough things about Adobe. Sorry, 1 second, I have to check this. Alright, cool. So, we've done some snowy work, which I actually really like. It adds a texture to it, and I really like that. And kind of gives the feeling of, like, extraneous snow upon the ice. And I'm also digging some of these like subtle, I don't know if you guys can see it as well on your screens. Of course my screens are just so good. But there is a very subtle like light blue on the snow. I might up the saturation of that just to make it a little more pronounced and like juicy. This is something that I've been fighting with in my pieces as well. Of course with Lee's mentorship, we've been talking about what publishers, what agents, what editors look for in children's book illustration. And some of it is very much based around color and making it as vibrant and saturated as possible. And sometimes that can make your work look a little cheap. So we're kind of trying to toe that line of like, do I want to go saturated, which I naturally very much do, or do I want to have this like sophisticated color palette mixture? That's always my thing, is like I want to be in the middle ground basically. And every piece kind of calls for something different in my mind, so I'm not gonna tie myself down, but it's just something to think about. I like the flow of the illustration. Feels very smooth. Oh, I'm glad. I like smoothness, but I also want it to have some like character to it where it's a little bit textury, but in a obviously playful and fun way. So we're gonna work on that. I do like this blue. Let's try to throw some over here just to see what it looks like overall. Kind of rounding out these snow forms a little bit, but not in a super literal way. This is also something, I used to be a concept artist, so I am used to thinking of things in 3D forms and trying to figure out what are they going to be like realistically and how would I do a turnaround of this character or whatever. Illustration, none of that matters, like none of it. So I have to really push myself to think outside of that box of realism and just go with illustrative stuff, because it's not worth worrying about every little bit when you're gonna see the character from one angle and it's exactly how you draw it. So realism really doesn't matter. Okay, let's see here. I think this dragon is a bit too bright. I'm calling him the dragon now. That's his thing. Okay, where was my line layer? There we are. I'm gonna darken some of him just a tad, just to see what it looks like. Let me throw a multiply layer over and see what that does. That's white, so that's not gonna work. I'm gonna turn off the transfer. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't mind it, honestly. Like, if we zoom out, we're trying to see the values of everything. I'm going to darken this guy too. What you want your work to read at is the size of a postage stamp. So, like, really zooming this out here and seeing if the values work. We're going to go back up to our black and white layer and see where's the highest area of contrast. Now, I've tried to make a gradual decline into the darkness of the water from the white of the snow, so that's a little bit less contrasty. I think I might want to darken the fox's shadow so that it's a really dark against a really light of his little toesies. Because right now, well, that's a multiply layer that we just put on, but a little bit too dark right there. But I want this to stand out as really dark compared to the other parts of the water. Easy enough. Let's see here. I can up the opacity of this because it was low opacity. Now let's see. Much better. Yeah, I think that fixed it. Let me know if you think it fixed it. The only problem with this multiply layer is that doing it so messily and fast is great to see like if it works, but I will have to go through and connect it to the lion layer and the underneath layer. So that's just something to think about, an extra little bit of work, but definitely not the worst thing. I'm gonna play with also giving him a little drop shadow down here as if he's swimming right above the surf or the bottom of the water, and see how that feels in conjunction with where he is in the water. I think it's getting a little bit mixed up with his silhouette, like it's not dark enough to differentiate really. What do you guys think? Working, not working? I'm gonna drink a little water because I talk too much. Also, you guys, drink water. Sorry if that was really gulpy sounding. My bad. Okay. Let us do this. And you're back. Hi. Alright, so let's look up close and see what that did to the lines. Not bad. Alright, so if I apply it to just the lines, and then I Alt drag it, which duplicates the layer, down to this. Alright, you know what's ridiculous? I need to fix all these layers. There we go. Yeah, I really need to fix all these layers. So, oh, hey. I think it works. Thank you, Tristan. Excellent. As long as you think it works, then I think we're golden. Let's see here. I think that this area is kind of blending too much, so I might alleviate a slight amount of the multiply on the edges here, just to make sure that it pops off the other one. Maybe just the edges are glowy white. That'd be interesting. Gonna make my this is the eraser. It's gonna have transfer, so it's tied to opacity with how far down I push it. And then of course I'm gonna bring back the glow in the eyes because you have to have glowy eyes. Boop. Alright. I think that's pretty cool. And then this is what I've been looking for a while, is a way to separate this. Oh, it's not even on there. Is it this one? Oh, this is the line layer. I'm dumb. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, this is the multiply layer. Okay. Gonna take the transfer off of there. And put a little bit of shadow just to make sure that they pop off of each other, because I felt like they were getting a little bit too muddled together. And having some like graphic straight lines is kind of fun sometimes, instead of blending out every shadow. Because that's another thing, as a concept artist, you blend everything and make things like, this is the core shadow, this is the form shadow, all that stuff. But with illustration, literally it's like, what affects the composition? Use it however you want. Or however much you can, because literally if you look at all the best illustrators, they're just like pushing limits in ways that you would never think to do. But hey, they made it work, so there's no rule against it, right? Okay, let's see here. I'm going to... Oops. I think I'm going to call that good for now. It's definitely not clean or anything, but I wanted the stream to be kind of an hour-ish, and I think we've been... I don't even know how long. But I'm gonna call it good for now and call that a wonderful experiment. Thanks to Tristan. I would have just been like talking to myself this entire time if not for you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I have this recorded, so I'll put it up on my YouTube and you'll get all the love from my YouTube peeps, if there are any. But yeah, I will... Oh, thanks, James. Great job. Thank you, guys. You're so nice. Wow. But yeah, I will see you guys later. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a great week. Weekend. It's Friday. What time? That's another thing with residency time. It doesn't exist. Okay, see you later.